Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. We all have challenges as we're moving through this time, and I'm going to talk about two extremes today in this class. I'm going to talk about the very practical, physical things that we need to do to make sure that we ground the knowing, the greater spiritual knowing and expansion that exists in our heart. So I'm going to talk about two extreme point of view. We all know, for example, that in our daily life, all of us, I'm watching all of you that are online with me right now. I know all of you had a major loss, okay? Because we're friends, I've been teaching you for years, and I'm looking at all of you and I know your stories, and you know that I've had major losses. All of us are dealing with grief, we're dealing with loss, we're dealing with processing all of these things. But aside from the major, what someone would quantify as a loss, there are multiple little losses that are happening all the time. The challenges of the time of what's going on right now is the fact that we are constantly being presented. Somebody is trying to get me. Hold on a second. It might be a student not being able to get a link. Okay, no problem. We are constantly being presented with opportunities, the external events that are causing us to have, because to have clarity when you're standing in the middle of a sandstorm is a real issue right now. And the sandstorm being all of the major climate change, social, political, financial, food shortage, supply chain, all of these other issues that are really much bigger than you and I, that we can't control, that are nonetheless affecting us on a mental, emotional, and spiritual point of view. And it is very complicated for us to hold certainty and clarity that we are safe and we're going to find safe passage. Yet, you and I have selected to be alive at this time. And clearly, we thought that this was an opportunity for us, or at least our higher self or monad, for us to learn something. And thus, we need to figure out a way to create the clarity and still pass through the storm. And I can only talk about myself because that clarity was always my gift. One of the things that my clients and my friends from years back were always saying about me is that I have clarity. I'm always calm, I'm always centered. And when somebody tells me a story, because my gift is morphogenic listening, and I listen so clearly, with my heart, that I'm able to see sometimes the lie that the person who's talking to me, not intentionally, or telling themselves. And I have the clarity and I know exactly what to say and have to help them navigate. Well, the issue right now is that I myself, because of all of these gigantic emotional storms that are going around, I have a lot of cloudiness at time about my own clarity. I am confused. It's unclear to me. Or at the moment, I may have an insight, like a light bulb moment that says, haha, this is it. This is where you're supposed to go. This is the path. Follow this omen. Follow this red thread. Pull on this string. This is where you're supposed to go. And literally, after doing it maybe for half a day or for a day, or sometime maybe for hours, all of a sudden, there is that other voice that comes in and says, begin to question everything. And begin to say, wait a minute. If you're, let's say, for example, you're looking for a job, and you had an interview or you spoke with somebody, or somebody offers you something and it seems ideal, it seems perfect, and you're like, this is the thread, this is exactly what I wanted to do, and you follow it, and all of a sudden, there's a little glitch. Something happens where the congruity or the flow you thought you had is no longer there. And the moment that happened, particularly in this time, the seed of doubt becomes extremely loud. And you begin to think to yourself, I did something wrong. I'm in the wrong place. This is not what I'm supposed to do. This was a mistake. And that doubt begin to gnaw at your consciousness and begin to try to unravel all of the positivity and the flow and the clarity that was initially created. And instead of moving with flow and allow yourself to surrender, you begin now to resist, you to attempt to control. And the moment you do this, you clench your buttocks, nothing was going to flow for you. Everything becomes a path of resistance and it becomes difficult to move forward. So there's a lot of that going on. I'm noticing this for me. I'm noticing this in clients, in students, that you know, there's a struggle to have that clarity. And one of the things I had channeled and I had said, this is since before the pandemic, and it had to do with the polarization. And these archon forces, these dark forces who are seeding the doubts and the fears, who are constantly there trying to tell you that wherever you're followed, that's not where you're supposed to be. You're not capable of doing this. You think you could do this, blah, 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 you know, that kind of like a conversation, that kind of like fear that generates this kind of doubt and this kind of feeling. So the temporary clarity that you have dissipates, and all of a sudden this fear comes in and it begins to undo the flow and the good work of certainty. And typically, basically, it's trying to block you from moving in that flow. At other time, prior to this polarization that started about in earnest, in full force, about 5 or 6 years ago, it was not a problem. You would end up having the clarity maybe for days and maybe for me at least for a week, and I'm in flow and everything is effortless, and I may have other doubts that come in, but they are minor and temporary. But now the doubts are louder, bigger, and they are more overwhelming. More and more you're beginning to feel that you're on the wrong path. You put your trust and all your egg into one basket, and you think that this is the path, and you invested so much because you thought you had clarity, you're on the wrong path. And this is the work of the archon. So to be able to overcome this, I remember the rule of 3 that I had talked about 3 or 4 years ago, which is when these information are coming to you. And this is true also when they're coming through friends. This is why when you're doing something, you're making decisions, you don't talk about your business. You keep your mouth shut. You move about what you're supposed to do. You make your decision. You let it happen, because the more people you talk to about your decision and what you're doing, the more they are capable of, through evil eye, meaning in the Kabbalah, they call it evil eye. It's not that the person is evil. It's just that their own energy metrics, it's a human thing, becomes envious and jealous of the ease and the flow they see and the blessing they see that's about to happen for you. And there is immediately a negative vacuum for them to suck that energy. And then the doubt goes toward you. The blockage goes toward you. So in the Kabbalah, even for somebody, and when I studied with the Kabbalists, when somebody's pregnant, they tell you during the first trimester, you don't tell anybody that you're pregnant, even sometimes your own family members. Because a lot of time in family members, the dynamic of the family, even with siblings, can be, or cousins and whatever, can be extremely competitive and envious, but due to past karma. You don't tell anyone. Once you pass the first trimester, you start telling somebody that you know loves you unconditionally. Maybe your parents, if you have that kind of loving relationship with them, or another family, friends, or adoptive parents, whomever that you think loves you. Because you don't want them, because you're going to have this blessing of a new birth, you don't want them to unintentionally trigger the evil eye toward you. So something akin to that is going now. And the rule of three I had said to you is this. If anything comes to the threshold of your consciousness of this during the transit, if that information is generating fear and doubts in you, and it's a rule of three. Second, if it's trying to tell you and demonize a situation, a person, and a circumstance, and telling you that it's dark, it's evil. And thirdly, if it's asking you or some part of that voice or that insight is telling you to flee or to try, or this person is evil and they're contaminated and you have to run away from them, or this group or this collective, it is not a light. It's coming directly from the archon. So use that rule of three also for your own internal mental poisoning that is trying to rob you of your own clarity. Because when you think you connect to spirit and you go into meditation and you have this moment when you have insight, this is what I should be doing. Because things are accelerating so fast in the world, we have to keep reinventing ourselves. This is what in my channeling from the past that they call having physical, emotional, and spiritual agility. We have to keep reinventing ourselves. So as you keep reinventing and redoing, you have to be quick. What you were 4 months ago, you're not the same person anymore because things are moving so fast. As you are agile with agility moving through this, you are letting go and surrender of a bunch of old identities. All the main trunk of the survival axis of 3D consciousness is being surrendered, and all the tributary that are feeding it, whether it is control, whether it is survival, whether it is fear of ancestral stuff, whether it is inner child, whatever it is. They usually ground and anchor ourselves in a false belief and a false identity, and it creates a very specific sensation like we're stuck on a glue trap and we can't seem to get out of it. I know this is true for me about certain aspects of my life that I've been trying to resolve for a very, very long time. Now, I know when I go in deep meditation and I do all this great spiritual work, I can get clarity. I can go into my heart space, and we're going to talk about this in a second. And I can get into that space. But the problem is that it's to remain in it when all of this turbulence is going on. It's like you're in a gigantic sandstorm, emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And all of these things are swirling about you. You may think that you have clarity at the moment, and you may pray and meditate as much as I pray and meditate. I have a moment where I have all these doubts and I have all these fears about decisions that I've made. Is this the right decision? I'm being deceived, blah, blah, blah. And I have all this internal struggle. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to act out to undo and destroy what is to my benefit. I'm going to block myself out because these doubts are so strong and so convincing at the moment that they are true. And again, rule of three. What I'm feeling at the moment, is it generating fear in me? Is it seeding doubt? Yes. Is it demonizing a situation or people and making them look like they're evil? In some cases, for me, of recent time, true. Is this finally, do I believe that a category of people or a group or collective of people are trying to hurt me? Yes. And if all three of them are yes, it's the outcomes. And therefore, I have to walk away from it and realize that it's a test. And I'm now gonna do the opposite rule. The 1, 2, 3 thing. First realize it's a test. Second, hold your emotional reaction. Third, count to 10. Don't react for 10 seconds. and finally do the opposite. So I'm reminding you of these things because it's like putting, I give you this information at various moments. I'm trying to thread all of them together as a way to give you, because the doubt is there, the fear is there, the sensation of like, and it's this idea to try to navigate this and realize that actually you should be able to find, and again, I'm not saying you're going to maintain the clarity, not the way I used to 5 years ago. I don't have those opportunities anymore. They're not there because there are too many chaotic things that are happening. There's a potential nuclear reactor in Ukraine that's about to explode. There's a war. There's all kinds of things that are going on. Supply chain, rivers all over the world are drying up. The Yangtze River is completely dry. It's a puddle. The Loire River in France, again, there's no water whatsoever in it. The Rhine has decreased so low. The Po River in Italy. There's so many things that are going on that are so out of the box that the kind of peace and serenity we used to have, we don't have it anymore. And we cannot exist by putting our head in the sand and pretending the outside is not there. No matter how good you are at isolating yourself, it's going to reach you. It's going to reach you. Because these events, why are these events happening? These events are nothing more than a crucible of fire and purification. It's a way for us to let go of all of these old beliefs about trying to control everything to survive, trying to attack and do this to survive, trying to do all the things that are related to 3D consciousness. We're going to be tested by these events to find the middle path, to find the road less traveled. And the only way you can do this is by surrender to the heart and mind coherence and to allow yourself to connect and to find flow and to let your consciousness move through it by literally trusting, by feeling your way through it. But even the feeling can be corrupted because at one moment you may feel I have clarity, in the next moment, all of a sudden the alcohols are infiltrating your emotional body and telling you again, with all of these fears and doubts, all of these contrary ideas and concepts, completely contrary. And then telling you to demonize the people, the opportunity that's presenting to you, you see them as evil, as dark. There's something about this person, and I think they are infected by alcohol, and they are this, demonize them. And then thirdly is to then realize that it's not just them, it's an entire, community, it's an entire collective that's after me. And therefore I must flee. And it will, and the flow that you were moving in, which was the right path, is now blocked for you because you allow the mental poisoning to happen. So it's that kind of awareness that I want to bring you, and I can't teach it in any other way than to tell you this, because the only way you can learn it is by emotionally and spiritually moving through it. I can only remind you of the landmarks, but I don't live in your body. I can't walk with you, or even if I was walking with you, I don't exist inside your body. I wouldn't be able to tell you at any moment, this is a test. And this is why so many of us are emotionally confused and overwhelmed. And I'm telling you, when these doubts are coming in, they are immense for me. They are huge. I have never, except for the past 5 years, I've never had doubts like this. They're huge, they're immense. And that's why I know it's a cosmic purification crucible of fire. because the moment you pass the test and you're able to move through it, it becomes easier. It's not that it's going to be the only test. There will be multiple other tests because there are multiple false axes and false beliefs that we're holding. And they all must crumble and must collapse. Any questions or any comments? Now I want to touch upon something, the summit, the Path of Return summit that I did on yesterday, on Saturday. One of the speakers, George Ayala, who is a Buddhist monk and a feng shui master, talked about sacred space. And he spoke about multiple tips, because I'm not a feng shui master, but the general idea of feng shui is that the feng shui is based on what is called a bagua. It's like a mandala that has different orientation: north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, and all that. In every direction on the bagua, which is like the mandala, it's not really a circle, but it resembles it's circular in nature. That bagua, its corner represents something. There's a corner that's love. There's a corner that's prosperity. There's like for example, the east corner is a corner of love. The west corner is the corner of prosperity. There are different areas, family, there are different areas and so on and so forth. So depending on what's going on feng shui, particularly astrologically as well, in Vedic astrology, there are cures. There are certain things, and depending on what your house is like. So if you have a lot of clutter in your west corner, when you stand in the house and you're entering in where west is, if you have a lot of clutter and things are blocked completely there with clothing and all kinds of chaos, you can never be prosperous. You have to, this is where feng shui masters and practitioner comes in. You have to unclutter that place, and depending on what you have there, at what kind of element, you may have to change. Put a carpet, put a red color, put this, do this, like the scandal, to unblock yourself. Because the bagua in the house and how you set it up is you. It's you. There's a corner that's for health. There's a direction that's for family. There's all kinds of direction. This is the way feng shui works. And if you're blocked about certain areas, for example, if your love area is, you have the wrong activity and things going on, you will never find true love. And the feng shui master, when they come to you as a consultation, they would look at all of that. Having the knowledge, they will tell you what you're doing there, you need to move it somewhere else. You need to put this there. And as you rearrange your home according to the proper footprint of the bagua, your life begins to change. And I'm saying this because Georgie yesterday was talking about sacred space, and he gave a couple of suggestions. And he repeated something that he's been telling me for 10 years. And for the first time, I really, really heard it. And so those of you who were on the call, on the summit yesterday, you will remember this. He mentioned the fact that you should never clip your nail anywhere in your house, because you should only do it in the bathroom. The bathroom is not a sacred space. This is where you do your toiletry and your defecate. It's not a sacred space. You're not supposed, this is again for the bagua thing, you're not supposed to put a statue of a higher deity like a Buddha or a saint in a bathroom, or a cross or anything like that. Okay? This is bad feng shui. And you do your cleaning and everything else. He said, you should clean your nail only in the bathroom. He told me this 10 years ago. And I thought I was being so good about all of this. Where I have my computer, where I do all my work that generate my money, I clip my nail right there. But I thought I was being smart because I collect. He said to me years ago, don't do this, blah, 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 because the prosperity goddess, when she comes in, she comes barefoot and she feels on the floor any kind of little nail clipping. She will withdraw and your money, your flow of your money will dissipate. Somehow magically, it will be blocked, it will be gone. If I tell you that right at my desk, where I am doing everything to generate my money, I have a small pail, and I'm fastidious about cutting my nails and my finger and my toenails. All of them are collected in that bucket, and they're right under my desk, which is exactly where I'm generating the flow and the money. I heard this loud and clear yesterday, and I'm like, no wonder I'm having all these problems. I'm doing all the wrong thing. They're not on the floor, but they are exactly in that feng shui corner. I'm never going to do this again. And I'm sharing this with you because for me, that was like a major aha moment. I remember the first conversation I had with him because he was telling me a story about a client. And when he told the client this, and the client started crying because the client had a dog or two or several dogs and was clipping the dog nail claws everywhere in the house, in the apartment. And he was having all these problems, almost, being kicked out. And the moment that changed, that she said the client cried and was so because his insight was correct. And the moment that changed, everything changed for him. I received that message so deeply and so profoundly. I left him a message today. We'll talk later after the class. I want to thank him again for saying this, because sometimes somebody says something to you, but you don't hear it. I thought I was being so good because it's not on the floor. Lashmi can come in. It's all, I sweep the floor right after I pick up every little pieces, but they're all sitting in that very corner, that feng shui corner. And that nail thing is going to block the flow, the chi in my prosperity corner. That's why I was saying that the conversation is deeply spiritual today, but I will go and ground it into the physical. Because that kind of rearranging of your sacred space is spiritual, but is also physical. The clutter that exists in your house, if it's in the wrong sector, in the wrong place, it will block every effort that you have. It will cost you even not to think clearly. You remember the voice I was talking about before that are constantly telling you, first you have clarity and you think that's where you're going, and then the doubt comes in, and the doubt is so strong and so powerful, they overwhelm you. If you clear the clutter and remove the blockages in those parts of yourself, you will not have those voices anymore, because the chi is not going to flow. And again, I'm not a feng shui practitioner, but I benefited tremendously from that message yesterday. I remember he had, since we're friends, he was in my apartment and he saw a Buddha statue that I had in the bathroom. He said, get the Buddha statue out immediately. Because instead of the Buddha being there, it will transform something very dark. It will create a negative value. And I immediately took it out. And I took his advice about this and that, but he was unaware because, it's in a plastic bag. That's a small little, garbage pail underneath my desk. And I used to put papers in it. But of late, and I'm talking of late, almost 8-9 years, I'm clipping my nails. And I'm so good about this. Every 3 days I clip them and I put them in the garbage bag. I empty the garbage bag out. I take the nails out. I do it, but it doesn't belong there.
Pierre,
Yes.
don't you have a Kuan Yin of state in the bathroom?
Yes. Yes, I need to feng shui all of that stuff. Yes, but it's sometimes I've been in Bali and I've been in other temples as well, where there is a section of the bathroom that's separated, where they have a deity. He was very upset because I had the Buddha statue right above the toilet.
Mm.
Okay, he was very upset because of this. Anyways, so I'm that's what I'm talking about. So I'm a different routine. I'm gonna still maintain my same hygiene stuff with my nails, but they're all gonna be done in the bathroom, my small bathroom. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to put a stool in the middle of the, or sit on top of the closed toilet and do the clipping and everything else right there and there, and not do it where I used to do it before. Because one little piece of clip-on nail that flies out, Lakshmi, that's supposed to come in because Lakshmi is the goddess of abundance. And in the very corner where I need the abundance in my bagua, which is the prosperity corner, I probably have all these microscopic pieces of nail that are all over the place, and she will not come in. You will struggle, you will make all these, she will not come in. Huge breakthrough for me. It was like something cracked. Anyway, in the next summit, he'll be sharing more insight about sacred space as well, because the first summit was so short. The next one is going to be 2 hours long, and we'll have more time to elaborate all of the other speakers, because it's me, Shanice, Georgie, and Meryl. So there will be more room for us to talk a little bit more, and the topic will change every month. Any other questions, any comments that you may have? All right. I want to go now from being that physical, that, about nail clipping and the goddess of abundance. I want to begin now to talk about the sensation. And I had spoken about this in a couple of classes back, the perception of sensation of this darkness on Omen, this kind of cloudiness that is in the future horizon, that is undefined for me as yet, that somehow I have to find a way to clarify for myself, and ultimately for it to serve as a prediction or warning for you. There is a sensations or perceptions and a knowing that there's something coming, and that something is so big that I can't see it clearly because I'm not neutral to it. And I'm working on releasing my burden, my fears, and to go more and more into neutrality, to allow whatever it is to show up for me. It certainly is a process for me, because it's a kind of like, the way to describe this is as if I'm in a fog and I can feel, I don't see in front of me, it's just the fog that I'm seeing, but I know there's a presence or there's something there, and I can feel danger. Not malevolence, it's not malevolence, I can feel danger. It's a different thing. Malevolence means this person is trying to intentionally destroy you. In this instance, I don't see it as being personal, but I sense danger. And I cannot define it completely. I don't have a way to yet define it. And I'm simply allowing in meditation what wants to show up for me.
Pierre, is it possible that the collective hasn't yet formed that, in other words, humanity as a unit is still, how am I going to say this, directing the outcome?
Yes. Yes, there's that part as well, John, as you well said, the fact that 8 billion people is trying to figure what kind of test in that crucible of fire do we collectively need to elevate, to expand into our God selves. And so I completely agree with that assessment. And I want you to know, given everything we know about climate change and everything else, I don't want you to worry about Gaia and the planet. And I'm going to give you a simple example, and I'll get back to the thread of my story. You know how plastic is bad for the animals and the fish and the sea, and there are all these 6 patches of plastic garbage patches that are in the various oceans around the world. And they are gigantic, they're immense, they're miles and miles wide. And supposedly nothing was alive in it. And a lot of the whales and the turtle, a lot of the sea creatures are eating it. And we're finding them with plastic in their system. And when they die, we open them up. We found them all, for that matter, seals have, plastic bags around them, roping around them, choking them, even the whales, etc. So there is that part. So there's a lot of non-for-profit groups who have created machines like scoopers to go in the ocean with net to pick this thing up. And they started ocean cleaning efforts. And they're picking a lot of stuff. But scientists recently, there's a man who recently decided that he was going to swim to one of these patches. And as he was swimming, he discovered that the patch that he was swimming through was teeming with so far undetected and unknown life form that are feeding on the plastic. Gaia is brilliant. Given this challenge of the plastic not decaying fast enough, Gaia has somehow mutated and created jellyfish, sea snails, all kinds of little microscopic, simple creatures that are actually feeding on that stuff. And it's teeming with life. And in fact, what they're realizing now is the reason why the turtle and the fish are actually, because they are different colors. They are very bright and very vibrant. And a lot of the turtles who eat, for example, jellyfish, are actually eating them, eating plastic that are the same color, thinking that you're eating jellyfish. And if they eat those new species of sea creatures that are eating plastic, that fish or that animal does not die. What I'm trying to say is that Gaia has a solution. So scientists are now saying that they are at a crossroad. They don't know what to do. Should they use the technology that they have with the scooper to collect all of this? Or should they leave it alone because there's a whole bunch of new species that have been created by the planet to deal with this issue? And I want you to know that no matter what happened to climate change, Gaia and life will continue to be. It is us, on the other hand, as human beings, since we can't mutate as fast, that are gonna be at risk of not surviving this. I want to go back to this conversation I was having, close that parenthesis, and go back to this conversation of the undefined thing that's happening out there. And when I have to be in a complete state of surrender, all those worries and the doubts and the fears and all these other things that are coming in, and all of them, it's not, the best way I can say it is that you have, I have to be in a state where I let go of all of them, that they are no longer a concern of mine. Whether it is I was trying to find a job, or I was trying to secure, I don't know, new apartment, or move, or whatever it is that I was trying to do, or for that matter, find a purpose. Because a lot of us, it's not just about the money and etc. A lot of us, the problem that we're having right now is that we no longer have an identity. Because we're changing so fast, we don't have an identity anymore. We don't know who we are. Whereas before, like 6 months or a year from now, we used to identify as being, and again, most people identify themselves, most men identify themselves as the profession that they're doing, whereas most women typically identify themselves with their emotional connection and responsibility. But if somehow all of that changes for you very rapidly, and you have no way, you're lost, and you have to redefine yourself. And that's why there's a lot of doubts. That's why you need the clarity that and that part is sometimes more important than what you do for a living. Because the moment you can have the clarity and say, this is who am I, and that's your identity. And again, that, as I said, we are going through an acceleration. That identity may be there for a year or two, and after that, you might have to let it go and become something else. Agility, rapid change, rapid transformation. Or if not change completely, you have to expand the repertoire and incorporate a whole bunch of other stuff that you didn't see yourself doing as it relates to that very specific identity. So when I go into a state to try to define or to seek out information about what exists in that future horizon, I let go of all of this, or even what I just said now, I let go of all of it. But it takes a while for me to get into that state, sometimes several days. So maybe half a day of meditation or several hours to let go of all of this, just to stop letting the monkey mind run in my head and about blah, 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 about specific thing, and become empty. I have to become empty. And once that emptiness is created, then I'm in a different place, and I can begin to say to myself, focus on the future horizon. And sometimes I don't even have to focus. I just have to be empty for a while. Sit in the emptiness. And as I sit in the emptiness, the future horizon shows up. I begin to see what exists, what's going to happen. And it begins to show up for me. But the moment that as I begin to see it, because it's something big, I have a sense, or emotionally, I'm feeling, I'm not seeing right now, I'm just feeling. What I'm feeling right now is, it's not just one thing. It's a confluence of multiple things that are right on top of each other. And my sensation as well is that by November, by the first or second week of November, that's when it will begin to kick off. And it's going to spill over into the next year. And I'm not completely, and again, I'm still not completely clear, because I haven't seen it yet, but the feeling is there, that it's multiple items. And that's why the sense of being overwhelmed and the shutdown from Pierre in 3D living in this location. And the moment I clench like this and I identify as myself in my 3D body, immediately that window, that vision shuts down. I have to be so neutral and so wide and so empty and so open for me to be able to see at that level. And why would I want to see at that level? Because there's a lot of responsibility. I was saying before that to see the future is to be changed by it. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And a lot of time what you see is not pleasant and more to the point. And I'm not saying it's necessarily negative. It's going to end up ultimately to be, everything is going to end up being for the greater benefit of our evolution. But the transformation and the change means that the existing world and paradigm has to break down. And when you're seeing the breakdown that's going to lead into something else, no one wants to be the bearer of that bad news to other people, to tell them. And it's a very difficult role to play. I'm still struggling with it. To be a prophet is not all it's cracked up to be, because you're going to have to, at some point, open your mouth and say, this is what I see. Everything that's happening in the world now, I've been seeing it since 2015. Every year, there's a different aspect of it that was revealed deeper and deeper and more profound and more precise every year. And so to know this is to kind of like wonder to yourself, why am I seeing this and what kind of responsibility? Because what do I do in the information? Because after I see all of this, some of it initially into 2015, when they're talking about a potential health crisis because of a pathogen and whatever it is that I was seeing, and you know, and they were talking about riots and lawlessness and that or the other, war. All of this I saw, and after I wrote everything down, it took me a good 2.5 weeks before I actually published it. And again, apologizing to everyone that I'm not fear-mongering. I sense the same kind of predicament showing up for me. And it's okay, don't feel sorry for me. That's my dharma, that's the role I'm supposed to play. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. But I just want to explain this to you and also bring to your information and your understanding and your that there is a huge insight that I recently got because of this as well. Huge, it was huge for me. There was a part of me as I was beginning to sense that my body was clenching, was nervous. So it's like a split mind. On the one hand, there's a part of me that's 3D, and then there's a part of me that's completely expanded into the blessed field that is completely empty. That's like, oh my God, this is absolutely perfect. I'm home, you know, this is absolutely extraordinary. And as that part of me opened up and was trying to marry the two, yes, there was this insight of something coming. I had a sense of a mass destruction event. I don't know exactly what it is. And then immediately following it, I had an insight of an unbelievable sense of who I really am. Not Pierre Dubois living in a small apartment, a spiritual teacher, but who I really am. A cosmic being of immense and unfathomable power. I'm saying the word wrong. Of incredible power. A being that was so, and it was a fragment of a second. This is a flash. that whatever it is that's coming, if I and others like me stand in that knowing, we can wave our hand like this and it will pass. It will not come to be. It kind of like brought me back to the story of my life, because when you're a gifted child, you're misunderstood and you have very specific trauma that you have to deal with, meaning that people think that you're weird and they bully you, which happened to me when I was a kid and in school. I was always the wallflower, the weird kid that was in the corner because I understood. And so it's like, the best way I can describe it is I'm looking at people, it's like I'm in a glass bubble. And I understand and know things that they don't know. And I'm looking at them with curiosity and I cannot relate. I cannot find a way to pass the bubble and to relate to them. Okay? And for me to be normal and to have friends and to be human, what I have done, and because when I'm in that space of being inside my bubble, I have incredible clarity. I have incredible insight. I am at peace. I am in my element. But the moment I try to step outside to try to connect to other human beings, that's where I'm having the problems. And when I get into that space of trying to connect, immediately everything begins to disintegrate for me. Because and the only way I can make myself, because when I'm inside my bubble and inside myself, my true power, and this is not coming from ego. I am so aligned that I am in peace. I am in a state of peace, of profound peace. And when I step outside, then there's a different way that I relate to the world. I put a mask on and I'm making myself small so that, because if I step into the world with that knowing and I walk among people with that knowing, with that peace, people are scared of me. They see me walking down the street, they scurry around. They're terrified. And for me not to stand out like this, I shrink myself and make myself small. My entire life, I've been constantly trying to dim my light so that no one will be blinded by it. Because if I truly let that part of me, there's something colossal, and the best adjective, and I've known this, I remember being part of the Rosicrucian Order when I was 17, 18, I knew this. There's something colossal that exists in me. And I have to dim the lights all the time. But for what's coming, for what's the challenge that we're being presented, and I'm saying by November going in forward, I need to bring that colossal entity back out. Because if enough of us stand in that awareness to allow that giant to step in, we can at least soften the landing of whatever it is that's coming. It's not completely defined yet, but it's coming. Now on WESAC this year, I had given you a whole bunch of prayers. Okay? Prayers for mercy from Kuan Yin, a whole bunch of prayers. If you still have the PDF copies, you should be repeating these prayers right now and asking for mercy. Because we don't need to know exactly what it is, but if we were asking the celestial host, Kuan Yin, God, the ascended masters, the angels, for help, if we're asking them for their mercy, the lending for whatever it is that's gonna come, that's coming forward, is gonna soften for us, all of us. Any questions, any comments?
I was just thinking, Pierre, as you were talking, that I remember having a similar experience. I don't know if it's exactly like that, but something similar, like feeling myself being like a cosmic being. That was, I don't know, a month or two ago. So so I think we probably all had similar experiences, and I don't know what else we can do other than be doing our practice and be doing what we, what you tell us to do, including the prayers.
Yep.
And maybe just to remember that. Maybe it's enough just to remember, right? And kind of have the kind of awareness in the back of your mind also.
Yeah, those experiences for me, it's a great reminder because of late, it's the confusion that's in my mind. And that's all I've been remembering. That part of me is buried in the back.
Right. So sometimes it's enough just to remember, right?
Because now that it's fresh in my consciousness, I can access it.
Yeah, and I totally, I noticed that. I said to myself, oh, how beautiful, this and that. And then I forgot all about it. But what you're saying, it's we need to maybe contemplate a little more and try to remember that. For that purpose, maybe for that specific purpose or something like that.
Yeah. I need to remember, try to figure out a little bit more about the nature of what's coming, because it will help me define it even better for me and for all of you. And I'm going to be working on that in the next couple of weeks. But I know it's second week of November. I know this is where it's that time frame, and it's going to spill into the middle of next year.
Right. Yeah.
It's that kind of time frame. But what I can say about the sense of this colossal giant, when that part of me comes out, having had a lifetime of dealing with this, when I'm in my daily life and that part of me shows up, when it begins to express itself, it's as if people around me are typically stunned, they are in awe. And when I'm no longer doing this as of 2015, thank God. But prior to that, when people begin to react this way, I actually interpret it as a rejection. I thought people were rejecting me because I was being weird. Because all I ever wanted was to be accepted and to be like everyone else as a human being.
Yeah.
But when that part of me comes out and begins to speak and begin to express itself, it is so immense and so big and so large that I'm now realizing that a lot of times when other individuals sees this, it reminds them first of all that they too have that exact same thing buried inside of them that they are not accessing. So they are in awe of that. And more to the point, the information, the speech, the way I articulate things when I'm in that flow, it's not my normal speech. And more to the point, the power that it manifests. When I am in that connection, nothing is impossible. It's not ego. It's not ego. Because I've demonstrated it. I've demonstrated it multiple times to me, to my shock and surprise when I come back to being Pierre again.
Yes, we know because you've given us examples of healing, miraculous healings and things like that. So yeah, that's not, I'm just thinking that maybe we do it more often than we realize, because sometimes I find that like people will be like very kind to you, right? Or very nice, and strangers say good morning, and just like you're walking down the street, suddenly people say good morning and this and that. I'm thinking we're probably walking shiny that light, we just don't even know.
Yeah.
And then you realize how people, you only know because of how people are reacting to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking we probably do it more often than we realize, and just trust that, I guess, trust that and know that it's okay.
And the other thing I'm going to say to you is that part of me comes when I'm in deep meditation or when I'm in a moment of crisis. Okay.
But you don't think like maybe if you just do your torsion field in the morning and you usually stay home, but do you think like if you went out, you just did your torsion field and you just went out, maybe you will show up too and you just don't even realize it?
Yes, what I was feeling that day during that meditation was bigger than the torsion field. It was something much bigger. It was something immense. It was way bigger. I know what you're saying about the torsion field, and of course of the rain cross marriage, of everything that I taught you. I know what that experience is like, but this was exponential.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was exponential. It was out of the scale was so tremendous. It was I don't have words, no adjective to describe it. But it was the point of it, and I've experienced this before, and to me, there's positive part to this and there's negative part to this, because when I was 18 years old and I was part of the mystery schools, and I was going to a lodge right here in Manhattan, and during the business meeting, or once I'm at business meeting, a lot of the brothers and sisters were doing things that were so unlike the teachings that I would get so spiritually indignant and self-righteous that I would get up and start speaking at that part of me. And I was young and emotionally not intelligent enough to know better. And I would start talking with indignation about their behavior and everything else, that the walls will begin to shake. The floor will tilt. And for the longest time, it happened several times. And for the longer, and again, when that begins to happen, people get scared of you. They don't want to be sit next to you. They don't want to be your friends. And I didn't realize the degree to which I thought it was, I'm making it up in my head. I saw what was happening, and I remember the day I realized that everyone is seeing it too, because there was a small group. There were five of us. After the business meeting was done, we had the large meeting, and then after that, we have the business meeting. When business meeting is done, 6, 7 o'clock, we would go to a diner to have dinner, and then we'll all go home. And then we would go, and we were friends. We're sitting down talking about spiritual stuff. And then somebody said, oh yeah, and Pierre, and that atmosphere and floor shifting thing that he does. That's when I realized that it was physically happening. And that's when I began to shut it down. I got scared. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I'm gonna hurt somebody. I gotta shut this down.
So now the difference is you saying that you do it more when you're in meditation or in crisis.
Yes, when I'm
That's
in
the difference.
crisis, it shows up automatically.
Right.
And when I'm in deep meditation and surrender, it shows up as well.
But I'm sure you can manage it better since because it's been so
Yeah.
many years.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not the same being. I've done so much work. This is when I was 18, 19 years old.
Right. Because I'm getting a sense from what you're saying is that we might need to cultivate this.
Absolutely. That's exactly my point. I have, although whatever that crisis is, this is what I'm perceiving. As I'm trying to get, I'm poorly articulating. Whatever is going to happen during that period of time, it's going to force out of us through this crucible of this experience, that cosmic presence.
Right. Which in light of what you just said and the work that we do, it would be a logical consequence that it will need to show up.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're doing such a high level spiritual work.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. And it's good to think about it because it's something, it's a contemplation again, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions, any comments? If there are no questions or no comments, why don't we take a 5-minute break and then we'll do our closing meditation on the back when we return. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And let the center of your awareness now exist in your upper chest. It is as if your eyes your consciousness and your knowing exists in that location in your body. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive all around you 360 degrees. Breathing deeply and slowly. And without agenda, attachments, and desires. Notice what you notice. Become aware of any sensations, knowing and awareness. That may show up for you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Become aware of any attachments, to people, to situations. To the gift and the honors of the world, let go and surrender all of them. Take a deep breath and release all of it into source. Become aware of fears, and confusions. Take a very deep and slow breath. And release all of it. Become aware of any loss or grief. Loss of friends and family members, loss of opportunities, loss of status, loss of past identities, take a very deep and slow breath. And surrender all of it into source. Let go of all loss and all grief that you're carrying. Unburden yourself into the blessed field. And let go completely by emptying yourself out. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And I surrender all attachments, fears, and control. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I surrender all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. As I allow myself to let go completely, and to surrender all my attachments, all my fears, and all my 3D survival and control. I am now at one with the vast continents. The boundaries of infinity times infinity. Let every point in my being, consciousness, expand and accept my new identity as a cosmic being of immense vastness, and incomprehensible knowing, wisdom, power, and clarity. Let all of the endless solutions set and perpetually moving and renewing potentials that habitates infinity times infinity. Show me the extent of this cosmic wisdom. And if wisdom is power used rightly, demonstrate in me and into the world the right use of that power. From the throne room of God into the roots of Amen, into the core of the earth. I am the eternal presence that exists everywhere. And let my roots spread deep and wide. grounding. The perpetually renewing and life-giving flow, abundance, healing and repairs. That exist in me. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How are you all feeling?
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're all welcome. You're all welcome. I want to thank all of you for listening to me today. For all my Patreon supporters, I want to thank you as well. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're listening to us on YouTube. I appreciate you very deeply, and spread the news and bring more people to change the algorithm so that this information can share with more people around the world. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next week. Deep love. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good night.